The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today. There we are. All right. Dennis, John, thanks for joining me today. This is a different kind of like episode. Not really a different kind of episode. It's always the same, but like there's like I think this is the first time like the Hideout's not active right now, right?
Hopefully changing that.
Hopefully change. I like that. I like that because I like your stuff. But like so, you know, I to everyone who's listening, I had Steve from Ocelot Records is doing a 10-year reunion show, and he got a bunch of the bands back together again, right, to play out. So, or at least asked a bunch of people, and they said yes. So this is like the start of that. I'm doing like he's got the whole month booked for me. Like he's booked the whole month of May. All of these are going to be rolling out as we lead up to the big night, right? So I want to thank you guys for coming on and doing this, and we'll get through this. We'll get through that. I promise it'll be fun.
Nice.
It'll be fun. So tell me a little bit about you guys. So, like, how long have you guys been playing music? Are you guys in active projects at the moment? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think our first EP was like 2009. It took us a long time to kind of get off the ground because we didn't want me to sing. We really didn't, like, at first. Like, we tried everything but the things we were looking for just didn't kind of lock into place. So me and the other guitarist, Brian, kind of like reluctantly just kind of started singing the songs and like forced ourselves to learn how to play guitar and sing. And then from there, we just continued to make fun of my voice and its deficiencies ever since.
Dennis, to be fair, we also make fun of your lyrics.
No, that's true. It's all around. It's a thrashing every practice, basically, but it's a good time.
Right on.
We were actually just saying at the last practice, like when we start making fun of the lyrics of a song, we know it's getting close to finished, like because it's feeling good, you know. And so it's like, all right, now it's fun time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because you know it's also safe enough that I'm not going to go home and cry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you all known each other for a long time?
Feels like it.
The other dudes did. So Dennis and Charlie, our drummer, used to play in a hardcore band together. Dying for It, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. You're three people might know what that band, but so they were sort of trying to transition more into like the post-hardcore pop punk kind of thing, and like basically everybody wanted to be Saves the Day, I think, and Brian and Charlie used to work together. So I was the latecomer. I think, the third bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I've been playing guitar for 30 years this spring, and I'm starting to get okay at it. But they had an ad up on Craigslist that said, we're looking for a bass player or a guitar player who can play bass. Here was the key. We have equipment. I was like, yeah, I'll try that out. So my first time playing bass for a full song was at a Hideout rehearsal. They taught me 2 songs. I played them, and they're like, cool, see you next week. And that was, 2012?
Yeah, and like to be clear, you were a personality hire.
Yeah, it wasn't my playing. They're like, he's okay. He seems nice.
He can talk to people, and we don't have the skill set.
I'm basically HR now for the band, but yeah, it's been awesome, and now they're like three of my best friends.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's cool to see the dynamic like that, especially like there's people like I meet people in life that I just kind of connect with out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And it feels like you've known them for years, like forever, right? And then there's people that you knew forever that sometimes you kind of disconnect from, right? So it's kind of it's a give and take in life, and I think it's to have a creative outlet with a group of people that you kind of connect with on that level. I think is a great thing to have. And like from listening to your stuff, from listening to like the first EP, I mean, I listened all the way up until everything that was on Bandcamp. So from the first EP to the split with Older Humanity, you know, and like it just everything sounded like you guys have been playing, you know, together forever. So it, you know, it was a pretty cool. It was a pretty cool listening experience too, because like sometimes you hear like you listen to a band and you'll hear them, you're like, yeah, they're pretty good, and then as their albums progress, right, or their whatever they put out progresses, like you start to hear the evolution of the sound. And I feel like you guys came out swinging and stayed true to that, and it was great from the get-go, you know. Like how much like planning went into like wanting to do the sound that you have. I mean, you just said like you guys went through a lot, like you were trying to find a singer for a long time, and I'm happy with you singing, if that's you singing on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think honestly we've all kind of gotten there. You know, one of the reasons John mentioned we had equipment, like I started off as a bassist in the other band, reluctantly became a guitarist, and reluctantly became a guitarist the singing. Like it always felt like it was like beyond my ability until it was. You know, I guess I felt like a slow learner. But like I think like now we've really kind of hit like what we call is like the hideout sound, but like we're never really content to stay in the same space with songs. I'll come to practice with wicked boring songs, you know, verse chorus, and like some vague ideas of lyrics. And by the end of practice, it's something completely different, you know, like we've taken off arms and attached them in different places. And like we play with structures and we're like, what if we dropped out at this point? So it's really like, I love that everybody in the band will bring an idea to the table and then we will just run with it. And I think we've gotten better at not saying no to ideas and just like exploring it. And if at the end of the day, we spend 3 hours working on a song and it's garbage, we recycle it into something useful. So I think, you know, we've kind of hit this stride where it's somewhere between like post-hardcore with some like heavy hitting parts once in a while, but trying to get like real genuine sounding lyrics, with a little vagary. Like I don't want it to tell like a super succinct story. I want people to be able to like reflect and relate it to themselves. So we always keep it like behind like a frosted window almost.
I like that. I like that that little comparison there. Yeah.
I think if there's been any evolution, we've been less afraid of pop structure. And so, you know, I think because of the way all of our brains work and just the music that we like, you know, like Dennis said, we would take his idea, dissect it, and rebuild, you know, Frankenstein it from scratch, and kind of we used to say like, oh, now it's a hideout song. Like once we had done that, and I think, you know, as we move forward, we were more apt to be like, you know what, like this song can be verse chorus bridge, like it's okay, and it actually sounds really cool that way. And I think part of the reason we came to that is we did a while back, we did an Alkaline Trio cover set. Every song, every time we learn a new song, we're like, this is the same thing over and over and over again, and we all love it. And so, like, why are we being so snobby about our own music? You know what? It's okay to just let that pop structure be what it is, because it's like people like it, we like it.
Yeah, right on. I think that's a good thing. I think that's from an artist standpoint. That's growth, right? Like to like, because like you don't want to be to one thing or to this, and then you just, you know, and then once you are able just to be like, let's just do whatever, like it's going to come out, and then if we need to improve it, we do, and if we don't, we don't. You know what I mean? Like it's also like comfortability. I had a hard time getting that word out today because I'm never comfortable. So it's, you know what I mean, as an artist.
You join the hideout.
So you know what I'm saying? So like it's one of those things where like I think that shows just the maturity of like the artist individually, you know, or collectively being with the band, you know.
Yeah, I think to like continuing on that thread, like our most recent release was in 2018 with the Oath of Humanity, and it's like a great split. We love those guys immensely, both as people and as a band. And you know, like the two songs that we ended up going with on that are the two sides of the Hideout to a T. Like Giraffes, we did some really cool stuff with it, but it's very straightforward pop punk anthemy. You know, it's about The Last of Us and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And then Hotel is like off the rails, like parts changing, like we don't repeat a part besides maybe the intro, and even then it's like a solo over it the second time, like just a
Yeah, I gotta
complete
say,
Hideout
like
song.
that song, like I wrote that down to talk about because like that song I was like, whoo, like I really, really enjoyed that one. And it was the last song I heard from them, you know what I mean? Out of the
Nice.
whole gang of songs you guys have. So like I was listening to it and I ended up I was like, I want to listen to that one again. Cause like, yeah,
Yeah.
because it definitely seemed and that's I like that. Like that's I like when a band likes to do things different. And I talk about it on the show all the time with bands because like you know, I have the freedom to you know talk to bands that I like. So like I look for things like that in music and like it because I feel like from many different standpoints, but like from if I want to like the most like I think approachable for just people of today is our attention spans are so small, you know, because we have you know we have these things that we mess with constantly, and like you have you know this you have Spotify that like it's just singles, right? And like everyone just does singles, and like you know, and not everyone, but you know what I'm saying. The general population will say they do gen pop. That's what they want. They want single serving, instant gratification. So when on the other hand, like I like full albums and but I like to hear different stuff. It's maybe my ADHD that like it brings you back into it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So like what you were saying with Alkaline Trio and like you guys are doing these songs like oh like it was like the same thing, right? It was just like that's great and there is a place for that in my heart, but like I don't know. I think the older I've gotten, like I need more variety. And I think it's again, it flexes like the artist muscle if you are able to kind of different to go different ways and still make it your sound or your art or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're creating, you know, there are no rules, and it's not like, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's not like we have some massive fan base that has expectations for us. Like, we have some friends who like what we do, and you know, when we put on a show, we like to do our best to put on a good show, but our only expectations are what we have on ourselves. So it's really about, you know, what do we like, what do we want to do, and not worrying too much about is this the right thing to do.
Mm, yeah. Right on. Right on.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's always been like a really healthy space for us. Not only because we get together and like it's incredibly, at least I think it's for everybody. Like it's really stress relieving and cathartic to see, you know, to connect with these guys, and you know we just play what's genuine to us, and we don't really have any expectations. So it's more about like how can I maintain this skill that I clearly care about, you know, and I don't want to let go. How can I continue to express that with three of my best friends, you know, and how can we continue to fight over song ideas endlessly, like because it's part of the process. Like I think the journey is even sometimes better like than the end product with songs, because like you really learn and explore ideas, and you have these conversations along with it. And
It's my
yeah,
favorite part.
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I
I,
love that moment when like you come up with an idea or someone suggests something and then you do it, and everyone just looks at each other and it's like the oh yeah, like that's sick. Like that is one of the best feelings in the world.
That's awesome. Now let me ask you both this, because John, you said you were a guitar player first, right, and then started playing bass. And Dennis, you said you were playing bass, and then now you moved to singing and playing guitar. Um, does it do from a performance standpoint or from a creating standpoint? Does it do different things for you playing one instrument over the other? Is it does one give you more anxiety than another? And from like a performing standpoint, like Like, is it just business as usual when you get up there? You know what I mean? And you just feel it with what's going on around you, or is it, is it something that you still actively like think about and like feel? And I don't know if you've ever felt like an imposter doing it, but it's like that I most of the music I like, when I talk to the people and they tell me like they have this case of imposter syndrome, so I just assume like, all right, it's been every band I've ever talked to, right? So, so like, yeah, so I know that was like 25 questions rolled into one, but like, yeah, what does it do for you guys? Like, does it different?
It definitely, bass definitely makes me think differently. And coming at it from guitar, I mean, sometimes I do things on a bass that a guitar player would do, which can be cool. And then I'm also, it's been 14 years now, so that's quite a time. Like, and so, I ended up taking bass lessons for a little bit during COVID, just to say like, hey, let me learn more about this instrument as its own thing. And yeah, it definitely makes me think differently. And I love performing on bass because at the end of the day, like, it's super important, and yet no one really gives a shit about what I'm doing, right? Like, if I'm not there, you'll know, but as long as I'm there and I'm playing notes that make sense, like, no one's like, oh yeah, that bass player was really good. Like, no one cares, which I like. It gives me freedom to move around the stage, just have fun, like scream at the audience, and and just enjoy the performance of it and not stress about the music so much. But I do get super nervous, and I was just telling a friend of mine today, like, I think that's part of the fun. Like, every time before we play, I'm super nervous. I'm like, I'm gonna forget everything we wrote. I'm gonna mess up everything, and then as soon as we start playing, you just lock in, and then all of a sudden it's over. And so like that, those nerves to me are part of the fun, part of the excitement.
Yeah. And John, I'll give you, I'll concede some of the bass nonsense you just preached, but at the same time, I also got to say, like, I think some of the biggest moments in studio for us have been like when John busts out the bass line. It's usually the last recording as part of the process, or like maybe the lyrics are there or it's a scratch track. But then like when you do some of those subtleties and that focus that you're only doing as a bass player is like so much more appreciated than when I used to, like, because of the first two albums, I did a lot of work on the bass. Well, the first album, and then, yeah, I guess, the last two songs on the second album, because I was originally an EP. So like John's like care and precision to the bass, like it adds dynamics and things to the song that like we don't even fully hear sometimes until we get to that last stage of the studio, and then we're all looking at each other like, oh shit, he actually is doing something cool. Like, this is great.
You can actually play that thing. Weird.
Yeah. But those, you can remember those moments. We were cheering for some of them.
Dude, I act super cool when it happens, but like when you guys get excited, inside I'm just like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And like I know for me, like switching between things like helps a lot. Sometimes I'll start off writing a bass line to like, and then build the guitar around it, just because like I'm still a bass head at heart. I listen to bass tone at shows. I'm just like a nerd that way, So, but then like singing and playing guitar was a whole nother element. And we have to think about that a lot as the Hideout, because Brian somehow like managed to sound very similar to me over the years, the other guitarist, and he does a lot of the singing. So like, for instance, in Hotel, that song we were just talking about, me and him are alternating in that song. Wow. And sometimes people aren't even realizing that. Like, I'm doing like the I've been waiting, and then he comes in settling in, and he's doing the next line, and we're like going back and forth. And then the chorus is like both of us coming in with that harmony, So it's cool. I think we really strive to do what we recorded live as much as possible, whether it's harmonies or whatever. And we talk about that a lot. But like on guitar, like sometimes there's just parts where I'm like, this is too hard for me to sing and play. Like, so how do we make that sound like an intentional musical break or have momentum that's carrying you to the next thing? And, it kind of dictates how you write lyrics around stuff sometimes.
Right on. Now, when was the last time you guys played a show?
So the Humanity brought us back from the grave last year, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, they're like really just great buds of ours.
They're awesome. Yeah.
And we're like so happy for them. Their full-length album is absolutely killer. It came out this year, and it's ground to dust. and it's like it has some of the best songs they've written. And they've just been great dudes in general. And we kind of went quiet after COVID, and you asked like, do we have any new things in the works? We're actually working on a full length album that we would love to record within a year's time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's getting there. And I think a lot of the stuff that the album deals with is, like a lot of changes happened since COVID. COVID was crazy. It added to like a bunch of burnout that I already definitely had deep roots in before COVID happened, and they only got deeper. And I just kind of pulled the tree out of the ground and moved to Maine. And like, that's what I felt like I needed to do. And it's been fantastic in a lot of ways, but there's also been a lot of transition that's been with that, So I think this album is a lot of COVID and unpacking what it means to be like burnt out and like feeling like a hollowed kind of husk of yourself, but then also like trying to hold on to like the good things and like coming back to the Hideout and Oh the Humanity, inviting us to do this show about a year ago was really like a kick in the ass. Because we had the text message group going back and forth, but there was question and if we were going to return to it regularly. I think we were all hoping that we were, but I think like for me, I was really hard to get a hold of for a while, just because of all those things I was talking about. And I'm really glad that like Oh the Humanity and the Hideout both like pull me from that, But that's a dynamic that I think, and I say all of these guys, they're my friends, both bands. Like I can say that full throated. Like they know me and they know these kind of cycles that pop up, and they know how to reach me. And I'm glad they do.
Right on.
Yeah, the other three of us were all focused mostly on being dads during that time. And so, as you get older and as you focus on your family, you're thinking like you just don't have as much time for it as you used to. Once Dennis got excited again, we were all like, hell yeah, let's do this. And we all still the rest of us live in Mass still. So he drives down about once a month, and we'll bang out some new tunes, like work on, some old stuff just to keep it fresh in our minds. And I think in some ways we're doing a little less violence to Dennis's ideas because just timing. We used to practice every week, and practicing once a month is a totally different game. But these songs are really starting to come together and feel like the Hideout. And I think I don't know, Dennis, what did I estimate last night? We're like 40% of the way done.
Yeah, and then I start like making fun of that and picking it apart. But then in some ways, I feel like we're further at the same time. So I don't know. Once I'm walking away from lyric sheets with the full, this is what we're singing, that's when it starts to get real. And I feel like we're at least 40, probably 60% there with a lot of these songs.
That's awesome.
And they've got momentum. I'm happy with them.
I'm excited. For you know what I mean? And like, I would love to hear that once it's all set. Cause, I don't know. I just like, it's great. So I've been someone who I write, and I've written my whole life. I've always written things. So when I learned about creative writing is when I learned how to express myself. Well, maybe I never really learned that, but like it's the best way I can do for a vehicle to get it out. Right. So, and then when I started like discovering music, my own like music, not just like what was on the radio, what my parents were playing, or whatever, like I found things, like that I could relate to. And a lot of it came from like the Boston area, even though I lived down in Rhode Island, but like, it was just like, I just connected with a lot of the music that was going on up here. It was weird. Cause like where I lived, a lot of kids even went like New Haven, New York stuff, like hardcore, or like they went like Providence, Boston stuff. And I just went like right with the Boston stuff. And it just kind of a lot of stuff I connected with. And I'm like, wow, there's other people out there that feel like me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I was like, shit, like this is, I'm sorry for them for feeling the same way, but like at the same time, like it made me feel that community right away, even though I live that next state over way at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. In the grand scheme of things, Rhode Island's not that far away. New England should basically be a state.
Right.
But like I totally feel that, like, and I think like listening to music during that time, I was totally feeling that. Like we used to say like the hardcore kids in New York, just like different breed, and we used to mess with them when we would go down there with our metalcore band. put Boston flags over our speakers while, after the Red Sox won the World Series and shit like that, because we're
That's
just young pricks,
Yeah.
But like, you can hear this, like there's a huge, I think orgcore is still a term people use, like that kind of like self-deprecative, very like sincere kind of like sound. Like that's there's a lot of that in Massachusetts, but it's got like this underpinning of hardcore and post-hardcore. All these bands like, Converge and Metal and Hardcore Fest at the Worcester Palladium and all this shit that really like formed so much of this community. And I think of like Philadelphia and like, bands like the Menzingers and like, the sound that came out of places like that. And it's cool just how like different spaces, like there's sounds that come out of these areas and they build and riff off of each other. And I feel like we got that, to bring it all home with a lot of these bands that were on Ocelot Records. We got that vibing off of Oh the Humanity. A Minor Revolution's playing the show with us coming off. We're great friends with those dudes. They'll be there in their Boston jerseys, their Bruins jerseys probably, like they always are. And then we got, other bands like Dead Cats, Dead Rats, The Digs, all these other awesome, like kind of bands that like Steve did a really good job of pulling these different threads and finding this commonality of culture, bands that fit even when maybe they sometimes didn't. But it's like-minded people, like we met Although Humanity in like a Lowell basement and we decided that night we were going to be best friends forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Steve. I don't know, Trev. I don't know how well you know Steve, but he's just like he's a super nice guy.
Yeah,
and he was so easy for us to work with. And I think. I mean, he'll tell you more about it, but I think he was pulling bands together that were just things that he liked and people that he thought were cool, and were like creating something that felt like them. Felt like okay, they're not just doing. They're not pretending to be somebody else, right? This band is creating something that's important to them, and. Like I've never met anybody who's worked with Steve and been like, "Oh, what a douche!" Like it just.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
He has a way of picking people out and connecting with people who are good people.
Yeah,
I appreciate that about him.
I met him a few years back. Actually, it's either 2021 or 2022 now. At like it was like the big house show out in New Jersey, and his band that he has now was like they were playing it, and I was just walking around and I was meeting people and stuff because I knew a couple of the bands that I from the show and being now we're like good friends or whatever. But I had met Steve, and then I had the band on. I had Taken by Vultures on, and then like we've just like kind of like we made like stayed in contact, right? And like so I have I have a record club, a subscription service record club, and I had heard like the Digs and Oh the Humanity from that record club like when I was just a member, right? So then I Mark, the guy who owned it, like he was hanging it up, and he was like, "You want to take it over?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give this thing a shot," So I still got it. So like I've worked with Steve in that aspect, and then he joins it. You know what I mean? Like he's joined the club, and like and like and I see him out at shows. He's just a great dude, and like and like when he told me he was putting this thing together, I was like, that sounds awesome. Like, and like, I was like, what is it about 2026? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, the Ducky Boys just came back. They just did a show in March, and like Blood for Blood is back. Like who fucking would ever thought that, So I was like, you just kind of added to this whole like awesome 2026 like return. And after listening to The Hideout, I'm like, yes, like, even though like you guys were working on stuff in the background, I didn't know that, and I'm even more excited now. So, and I'll say it now instead of, well, I'll probably say it at the end of the episode too, but when it's ready, come back. Like, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for it, So, but yeah, no, it's just like he's just a great dude. And he is, I've always found the people I really connect with out here are people who are big supporters of the community. And he is like I said, I run into him at shows. He joined my record club for a while, you know what I mean? And then like, and then I like, and it's just a cool thing. So how did you guys meet him?
I'm not sure.
I mean, like just existing in I think the same scene, like, I I've seen him at so many shows, even since COVID. You know, driving down to Wilhelm Scream shows in Worcester, and then who's tapping me on the shoulder? It's Steve. You know, and we're all catching up all of a sudden. Or it's the Humanity guys when they're not even playing the show. Half the time they are with Wilhelm Scream recently, so I'm jealous, and that's good for them. But yeah, I think probably our bands were playing together at some point. That's probably the most likely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It always seemed to revolve around O'Brien's.
Yeah. As much does, right?
Yeah.
Right on. When did he approach you about this show and what he was trying to do with it?
I think a couple months ago, he basically Dennis and I do all any organization stuff for the band. Like we usually take care of. So he sent out a message like through Facebook Messenger to me and a few other guys saying, "Hey, is this something you guys want to do?" And we all kind of became the point people for our bands. Found a date that worked for everybody, and it was kind of cool because like everybody who was in the group having the conversation, like we were able to find a date that worked for everybody too. Like none of the bands got dropped, and we didn't have to add anybody else, which is kind of cool. But when he first said it, I was thinking, I don't know if we practiced enough. Like I was worried about it. But then I reached out to the guys, and they're just immediately like, "Yep, we're doing it." Like no question about it. And we started going through some of our old stuff and going, "Oh yeah, we can do that. We can play that." And I think we're gonna play a couple songs we haven't played in a long time.
Yeah.
Like what? Oh jeez, what's the one?
I mean, are we gonna publish like? I know we hate Spotify, but are we gonna publish just like hey, this is what we're playing for the show? We could.
Yeah, I probably will. Once we nail it down for sure.
Yeah.
We're
getting pretty close.
Well, what's the song? The Dust Clouds in the Morning.
Bird Ball and Chain.
Bird Ball and Chain. Yeah, that's a song that we played a bunch before we even put that record out, and then we kind of just stopped playing it. And as we're going through, we're like, man, this would be a cool one to play again. So we just started practicing it, going, yeah, we love this song. And that's one of the great things about we have a pretty decent sized catalog, so. We can go back and go, oh yeah, remember that song? It's so much fun to play, or it reminds us of this thing we were doing at the time. And so pulling those old songs back up is a lot of fun. I mean, we don't play much from the first EP because I wasn't even in the band then, and I would say stylistically it's the most different, right? It's still pulling in more of those hardcore themes. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot to pick from, and again, you don't necessarily have a lot of people who expect certain things. So we get to really pick the set list that goes, this speaks to us. This is a set list that we want to play.
Awesome. It's awesome. When you go through a set list like that, so I have this thing where like I'll look at an album and I'll listen to a record and like I'll see like I'll like envision this whole story, right? Like I'll like doesn't have to be a concept record, but like I can see like why it goes this way, right? And like does that for the set lists or just when you guys do play out, like do you kind of organize it in a way to make it flow a certain way, or are you just like whatever you want to play, you just guys just feel like playing
it? We're bad at this. But like we do give it an honest effort at the same time. So like we used to just play whatever we wanted, and then we actually were like, oh, if we're ringing out on this chord at the end, like what's a song that's in that same key or that like feels like it's completing that ring out. So we will do like smaller groupings, but we don't have a lot of songs that like have a big overarching kind of like story that we would like intentionally put together. I think the closest to that was on our full length, like More Yesterdays, Less Tomorrows and Death Dealer are right after each other, and they're the same kind of story continuation in different ways. There's even like a rehashed riff from the previous song in the other one. So like we play it a different way to really like make it intentional. But for the most part, there's not a lot of things where we're like, oh, we're grouping this together. But we do things on vibes, and we also do things on like, when the hell is Dennis going to take a breath? And like, cause I like semi-pass out on stage when I'm singing. Like I give it everything I got in order to get some of like that gruff that I go for. And I do like blackout, like while I'm singing, like it's like, oh, there goes the vision. I got to chill out. So we find space for that too.
Yeah, like I would say the end of the process is okay. We pick 15 songs, we narrow it down to 10, and then go, all right, like what order do these work in? Uh, but we really, I think we pick them for the songs that we want to play, not necessarily for, oh, this makes a good set list. Because if we're not having fun, I mean, what's the point of it, really? Like, it's not going to, and it's going to convey poorly too.
I got you. Yeah.
And that's why there's like 2 or 3 songs that are almost on every single playlist. Like there's just 2 or 3 that are just like core The Hideout. And some of them are older, and they just keep sneaking their way into the set because that's like what we want to play.
Hell yeah. Let me ask you, when you guys played that show last year, right? That was the first show you played in a long time. Did it do something for you? Like in turn, like, so I'll take breaks from writing and I shouldn't, right? Like it's one of those, like one time I took like a 6-year hiatus from writing and like, I didn't realize it until I went back to it, how fucking miserable I was, So like, do you guys get that from like performing? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like, oh man, like there was something missing and this was it,
I would say
definitely go for it. No, all right. I can definitely speak to that. I mean, on 2 levels, like, I think one of our last shows before we stopped playing was at the Sinclair, and it was the reunion show for Lost for Words, and it was like a great show. And like, I think one of the best moments of my life was on that stage, just like people vibing, like the lights and the sound, and we're jamming out, and like you just lose yourself in that moment. And there's not a lot of space for that. Like there's very rare moments where you feel like disconnected or like ethereal, and like sometimes in these moments playing, like I get that. And again, like a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with post COVID and with all my work stuff and kind of upending life in a way, like I was pushing stuff away for sure. And I was telling myself I didn't need it. I'm like I'm a statue. I'm an obelisk. I don't need these things. Let me go move in Maine and I'll be fine. And like, I'm not without these guys and the music. Like that is a thing to chase. And for me, like so much of it is the collaboration. Again, like the process of writing songs, seeing these guys, exploring ideas, having side conversations about like where your head was at writing these lyrics or talking about things, like it forces an experience onto me that I really need, if that makes sense, and I took it for granted. You can fucking clip it, John, and play it at practice.
No, I always make fun of Dennis because, he presents as like he's a robot, no emotions, stoic guy. And I'm like, no, dude, you are like a poet who cares deeply about everybody. But, he doesn't want to admit it. So I'll say it for him.
I'm the same way, Dennis. Like and it took actually, 10 years of therapy kind of got me to be like, oh, wait, I'm not really like this. You know what I mean? Like I would flip that switch and just shut off. And like, to the point, like, I'll tell you this real quick. Cause like it's like, I don't know if it was like, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe not the opposite, but like, it's a similar story to what you were just saying about like kind of just uprooting and leaving. Right. So like I took off in 2018. I went down to Tennessee to help a friend who was moving back home from up in Worcester. And he was opening up a restaurant and a bar. So I went down there and like, I was like, yeah, I'll go down here for like 6 months. I'll train all your people or whatever. And I ended up staying for about 1.5 years. And then while doing that, I had a business where I would deliver like, it was like a little logistics business where I deliver like small freight, like to hospitals and nursing homes and like sometimes home deliveries and like offices and stuff like that. So that took me to like Pittsburgh or the Pittsburgh area. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I was living out in Pittsburgh and I was traveling so much. Like I never had a chance to like kind of see the area. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hits and everything just slowed down. And I went from traveling to all these different states for this logistics company as a consultant. Like I ended up being stuck like in this little area. Well, not little area, it's Pittsburgh, but like I stuck in this area, and I had like my own routes, and I was doing that. And then like it was right before they shut the world down. I was supposed to go back to Tennessee for a film project that I was part of at the time. So I drove to Rhode Island with my dog, and I dropped my dog off at my parents' house. So I came back up, and then the world shut down like the next day. It was crazy. So I
Yeah.
couldn't do that, couldn't go back to get my dog, and I was just like stuck for months, and like it got really bad for me mentally. And one of the things I realized was like I called it my walk in the desert. You know what I mean? Like the peyote walk in the desert, whatever. That was my time in like the Pittsburgh area, because like I was just like it made me realize like no matter how much of a loner I am, we need people, right? Like we
Yeah.
need connection.
Hmm.
And like the closest person I loved or cared about was 500 miles away, and it was a dog. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it really put a lot of things in perspective for me. And like, when I moved back, I came back to Massachusetts. Even though like that's to me this is home, because I'd lived here for so many years before that. So like, it felt it felt good, but it felt different. Like I felt change. You know what I mean? From moving away and then coming back like that. But I think it was because of that time I spent, and I was isolated, like more like I live alone. You know what I mean? Like I have all these things, like all these, and I was just like I was going out of my head. I had just right before that happened, I had just relaunched the podcast. That was my only line of communication, because like I worked by myself, so I would just like pick up the stuff from one place and bring it to another, right? So my only real thing of communicating was the podcast, and it like in a way it kind of saved me. You know what I mean? So I totally get like what you're saying about like, you know, sometimes you have to do that, but then you start like you miss like that, you know, you missed your friends and you missed your bandmates and all that stuff, and like it puts things in. And if you're able to get down there, like, you know, which is good, right? You feel that and being able to create, I think, helps too. You know, I was doing a lot of writing while I was there. But like then once things got real thick with like the COVID and stuff, like I just shut down from everything. So I had no people. It was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think a lot of people like process and experience that time just very differently. You know, like for me, it was like I was convincing myself like this was for the better, like less was more, because I was feeling a certain break from like I do have social anxiety stuff, and like I can put it like in the back of the shelf and like go through and talk to people, and I totally like mask all day long through and work, you know, like talking to people all day long, and then like you get home, I'm like I just want to sit with my dog and a coffee and not hear words for the next 3 hours, and it's like, oh, my wife, who I love very much and need to interact with as well, like I can't do that to you, you know.
Right. Yeah.
um but like for me, I was like basically convincing myself that less was like more for my mental, and I think that was just what my brain was needing at that time. Because I do like right now, I provide housing for people on the spectrum and like coaching and stuff like that, and John's teacher, so he's very similar. And like all through COVID, it was like the craziest times. Like I went from running a day program with 140 people coming and going between two facilities every day, like a school, you know, to managing different groups of staffing and housing and trying to like do online curriculums through Zoom, which I had never done before. I was actually just thinking tonight, like how second nature this is to just hop on. It took me 15 minutes of prep. That was not a thing then.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't have a webcam. And then as things got really bad, like we converted one of our day programs into a hospital, and like I was working 60 hours a week. Just like I don't remember like months of time during that summer. Like I can recall like feelings and flashes, but I lost time to it. And I think I was already kind of like really burnt out on just general Massachusetts shit. Like I was driving an hour and 40 minutes to work back and forth, almost 3 hours every single day. And I didn't realize what that was doing to me until I got to my 30s. And I was like, I'm destroying myself. And I'm not getting enough money to compensate for all that. You know, I need a massage and I can't afford it. So like, I think COVID was just a wild time. And I think everybody told themselves a lot of lies and did a lot of hopefully self-discovery after getting over those lies. And I think that's probably what a lot of this new album is going to be.
Yeah.
That, and like, as I generally gesture at everything going on.
Right on. I think it's that an album like that's needed. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's going to be relatable for a lot of people. So, that's awesome. That's awesome. Where in Maine are you?
Portland. I had to choose the most Boston-like place.
Sure.
Of course.
I got family right in Westbrook, so that's why
I love Westbrook.
Yeah,
I'm there all the time.
There's some good music out there too, out that way.
Gino's, the Brass Rail. We got a bunch of good local places all the time turning up music.
Yeah, that's awesson. That's awesome.
State Theater, of course.
So, all right. So let's gonna. I want you guys to come back when there's a new record. I'm not gonna say if. When there's a new record, I would love for you guys to come back, and we can just kind of just get into it, dig in deep on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, so for now, let's like, so I mean, June 13th at Faces. Have you guys been to Faces yet at all? It's awesome. Like, I hate that it's like 90 minutes away from my house, but like, because the beer's really good, so I have to like, really like, all right, I have like one beer when I first get there, and then like one when the show starts, and then I gotta stop. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, it's an amazing venue. Ryan does such a good job over there. The whole staff, the food, the beer, everything's great. So I'm really excited. This is I don't think I've been to a 5-band bill in forever. So, like, I might have to get a room somewhere. I think that might be my my go-to. But you know,
we were talking about set length, and just like none of us want to sit through 5 bands playing for 40 minutes. Like even if we're one of the bands, we're like, it's too much. It's too much. And I mean, our philosophy has always been, you know, sort of leave them wanting more. Like play one less song than you think you should. Because we'd rather walk off stage, people be like, oh, that band was pretty cool. Then be like, have people going, when are these dudes off? So hopefully, I don't know. We haven't talked to the other guys about their set lists, but hopefully the other bands are thinking the same way, and we can just make this like a real banger and just like have it be an awesome show where everybody has a good time and nobody's going 5 bands. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be worth it. I know from watching social media and seeing when Steve started posting the flyer and the videos for it, like the excitement that people were getting. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good time, and I'm really excited for it. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm really just excited.
Bands. Oh, go ahead, John.
I'm just excited. I'm excited to see who comes out for it because, you know, before you were asking about, you know, shows, and for me, like practice is therapy, but shows are community. And, you know, whether you're socially awkward or somewhere in the neurodivergent color palette, like you're there around a shared, at least enjoyment of music, and hopefully the style of music you're there to see, and you don't have to talk the whole time because it's loud. So, you know, I feel like it's really easy to make fast friends. You know, like I think about like Jamie from Loser Circle. He's like one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Love him. Love Jamie.
Yeah, and like when we. Like, no joke, when we ordered shirts, I, like, reached out to him, like, dude, what size shirt do you wear? We're going to get a Hideout shirt, like, making sure we order one for you. But, like, he's one of the nicest dudes, and I was introducing him to somebody, and they're like, oh, how long have you known him? I was like, I don't know. We've hung out, like, 4 times at shows. and then, like, we ended up taking our kids to the aquarium together and just having a great time, just chatting and connecting. And that's just one example, but I feel like I'm constantly, you know, when I do go to shows now, you know, somebody's there going, oh man, I know we haven't talked in a while, but you know, and social media is what it is, but like, I've been following, you know, what's going on in your life, social media or whatever. And it's like, I've been thinking about you, or how you doing. And you know, these are all people that I've met like 4 times, 5 times max. And yet you feel a really strong connection to them. And I think, you know, I think there's shared values there too. You can't always know for sure. Right. But, I think you figure that out pretty fast in these situations.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
So I'm like, who's coming out? I want to just see who's going to be at Faces, because I want to be like, oh man, I haven't seen you in 4 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think we've hung out maybe 4 or 5 times, but like, there's so many times where you're at a show, especially, you know, call it like 5-10 years ago now, you know, where you look out and like, oh, I know those dudes. What band are they in? You know what I mean? And I know these people. And oh, that's that girl in the band. What's it? You know? And it's like you see the faces, and even though you're not interacting, it's a shared community. It's like going to church. You know, like it's just you're having a moment. And you know, as someone who works with people of different preferences, I've always loved that one of the cool things about a show is you can talk to bands in between. You can go buy the merch. You can have these social interactions, and or you could just grab a beer and wait for the next band and then nod your head when they're playing. And sometimes like you're still making eye contact with people, or people are noticing you and they're noticing you're part of a community. And there's an invitation to that, and it invites potential conversation for people who are very reluctant to conversation. And then there's people like Charlie in my band who will never approach anybody, but bands will approach him and people will approach him, and I'm sure he's getting the same thing from that, you know. And I share some of that too. Like I'm a little reluctant to it, but once I'm in it with people and I'm like, yes, I remember you, how are you doing, like how's your family, like, oh, your daughter's how old now, you know. And it's like, shit, time's flying, it's good to see you.
Yeah, I know, you're right. And I get shy when I go to shows, and like, you know, and like it's cool now, like, cause like I know people now and I can say hi, but like, yeah, I've always been like the guy just like standing in the corner. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird that I do. Well, I used to tend bar too. So like tending bar and doing a podcast, like it's like, you know, I don't know, I'm good at that, but then like you get me out there and I'm like, nope. That's just like,
Open water, yeah.
you know. So, and I never know. Like I'm like, should I say hi to this person? You know what I mean? It's good. Oh man, it's the worst. But like,
and then they like kind of look towards you and you give them this, but like you're not sure.
yeah. So
you're like scrolling through Facebook to like, what's this person's name? I know.
I'm at the point now where I know, like, oh, this person's gonna want, because I'll go to shake someone's hand and they're like going for a hug, and I'm awkward because my hand's way out here. You know what I mean? And I'm like, so now I know like which, like, all right, that like Mike Perone from Loser Circle is gonna hug me, so I know I'm gonna get a hug there. You know what I mean? Or Jamie's gonna hug. You know what I'm saying? So, oh yeah, so yeah, it's always fun. But
they're a real hugging band.
Yeah.
I mean, this show is like a very huggy crowd.
Yeah,
you know, we're not rigid with our maleness.
So, but I want to thank you guys for coming on and talking with me, and to promote the show, and to talk about your music. And like I said, I'm really excited to hear new things from you. Where can people find you guys? You guys active on social media at all, or not yet? Or yeah,
we're gonna resurface it. I mean, because we need to tell people what we're doing, but we are on Spotify and Bandcamp and all that good stuff. You can definitely follow us on Instagram. I think it's like The Hideout MA. Usually it's either The Hideout Band or The Hideout MA. We can send you some links and maybe you can drop them in the show notes.
Hell yeah.
But you guys can also find us on the Ocelot Records Facebook page, promoting the show for June 13th with Oh the Humanity, Dead Cats, Dead Rats, Minor Revolution, The Digs. Set Faces Brew, and it's going to be sick.
It's going to be an awesome show. So,
Trev, I just want to say thank you for making this super easy. Like,
oh
yeah,
thank you.
No, this was real, just a chill conversation.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I wanted to like ask you so many more questions about your writing, but I'm like, oh no, this is like he's interviewing us. So like maybe
yeah.
Up the show, we will say hi to you. I'll make sure we say hi. Like we'll get past the awkwardness. And
right away. Well, I think we just did that here, so yeah, we'll be good. So awesome.
Perfect.
Well, guys, again, nothing but the best for you both, and for the rest of the band. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see you guys on June 13th. So, all right.
Talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks. Take care.